Good afternoon, everyone. Something we all tend to seek is the truth. The ability to see the truth is a gift until you realize you cannot unsee it. In the most casual terms, I'm a hacker. I've been doing this from my high school. I still remember the day when I was the most curious guy in the room, learning anything and everything about technology. My friends used to call me geek, nerd, or even a robot. And I was a fresh learner, I was a young gun, and I just wanted to practice it somewhere. So I just casually started hunting on an educational website. And from the outside, it was exactly how you can expect from a website. It was a smooth UI, clean performance, and everything was in place. When I spent hours on it, I found something on the website that was a security issue. It was an access control flaw. I will give you a context. Suppose you are visiting a website, you log in into it, and you want to see your profile. So sometimes in some websites, you must have seen that there is, in the URL, there are some ID parameters or there are some username parameters which shows that the account belongs to you. So something like user ID 1 or 1000, 2000 or even a username. It used to happen with Facebook even when it was started. So what can you do with it? Can you imagine something that can break it apart? Like changing the user ID or changing the username. What will happen? Can you see other user profiles? So that allowed me, this security issue on the website allowed me to view the profiles or the personal details of all the students registered there. There were 500 plus profiles across the state. Even names, mobile numbers, and even their passport photos. And since then, I've tested so many websites, applications, and software. When I look at the code, I see the same story. There are so many websites, and in hacking, the job is not about hacking systems, it's about hacking people. So, social engineering is a skill using which I was able to trick people into clicking malicious links, install software and applications that gave me silent control over their devices. And that makes me think if I can do this to others, that same thing can happen to me as well. In that educational website, even if my data was not there, the trust that I had that my data was safe somewhere out there was shattered. And that's when I realized that the truth is not always the same. When I look at it, when I think about it, I think that how much of my own trust was built on illusions. Hi, I'm Ansh, and I'm a security engineer by practice for over 4 years. And I was an engineering student of BTech CS from BIT Durg. This is where I started. I still remember that. I used to have samosa chaat party at the canteen with my buddies when we had our birthdays. And we used to sit at the benches outside our block and discuss startup ideas. And I practiced this passion throughout my college life. I want many hackathons here, BitShine, OJS included. And the same passion has brought me back here again. Like all user interfaces, you know software has user interfaces. People even have user interfaces that we all want the world to see. They are our perfect Instagram bios, our LinkedIn profiles, our perfect smiles. And day in the life videos, success stories. It's like an amazing web application from the outside with terrible security from the inside. You know, so like I'm talking about people, I still remember, like, you know, how we can show ourselves to the world is not the same that we are from the inside. So someone has to just click on the wrong button. Someone has to give an unexpected input to you so that everything falls apart. And then it's very easy to compromise yourself. So I was made to think that I was living in an illusion. What happens to you when you're ghosted by someone who you trust the most? It gives you a hard time, but it teaches you an important lesson. We are living in a version of reality, a very polished, very filtered version of reality. See your Instagram posts, like see people, they travel, they have money, they got a 50 LPA job, they travel, they got married, they bought a new car, they bought a new home. But in regular conversations, they are the most kindest person. But what happens, what they think about when they sit with themselves? People hide the truth in their source code, which they don't show. We are all wearing a mask. And so if I talk about myself, I wasn't doing this from a long time. Uh, when I was a kid, I wasn't a hacker. I was hacked myself. I was an introvert, and I was an easy target for people. My mind has a weak password, and it was easy to exploit me. It was easy to manipulate me into believing something. I couldn't say no to anyone. I had weak boundaries. Like, my trust was my unpatched software, and it made people to manipulate and exploit and bully me. Like, I couldn't say no to anyone. My mind was almost conditioned and brainwashed to believe that everybody's trying to help me, even if the results said otherwise. And looking back at it, I think that I wasn't the hacker in my own life. I was the vulnerable system. And then I was introduced to hacking and computers and digital security. And then I developed a passion. That's a different story how I did it. But I did it on my own. I learned anything and everything about it from my college time, from books, from self-study, from videos, and everything. After 4 years of individual curiosity, I made it my profession and I started working in corporate. Since then, all I do, all my life is about analyzing code, finding vulnerabilities, and exploiting them and see how deep I can penetrate into the systems. You, as a software developer, what do? You build a solution to a problem. My job is to find a problem in that solution. What happens, like whenever I see a code, all I can think is how can I break it? What input can I give it so that it disrupts itself? And I did it for so many software and websites. Whenever I look at code, I start finding issues. And eventually, after years of this same conditioning, I developed a habit that spilled from my work to my life. I started doing the same with people. I started with the same relationships I had. Whenever I see someone, I started analyzing the source code with everyone. And so after that, life was a bit changed. And this is kind of a blessing if you think about it. People of my age were falling for well-crafted phishing emails. They clicked on wrong buttons that led them into toxic relationships. And what they did was they were getting socially scammed, getting tricked. It not just once, but over and over and over again. Initially, I looked at it as a life-saving skill. Like, I unlocked something great. I was able to see through people. I was able to understand and read their minds. There are a lot different kinds of people that I can hack or fool. It was easier for me to fool them. Some people have blind trust on someone, and it is easier for me to impersonate that person online and trick them into believing me, and then it's very easy. Some people are very emotional. They think by their heart. Whenever I can give them a situation, I can exploit, I can trigger their insecurities with fear, urgency, or greed. Some people have default credentials or default passwords, or they rarely change. They have an automated script, they live by an automation. They have the same response to all the situations consistently. If I know too much about them, I can create a situation which I can predict the response of, and I can use it against them. Some people cannot handle stress. Some people get overwhelmed with, they lose their composure. I can overwhelm them with their fears and they just break down and do unexpected things. It was amazing. It was great for me. I was a completely changed person. I was able to see through the illusion. I was able to know what exactly they think, and it was very hard to fool or trick me. I was not getting scammed. I was not getting tricked. I didn't blindly trust anyone. And people did. At my age, my friends and all, they did everything. And I kept it doing for a long time. And it just reveals how I was conditioned. And after that, after a long time, it made me feel a very different person. So this is something that I did for myself, and in my social life, all the persons that I met, all the persons that I found out were exactly behaving the same way. But now I unlocked something for myself that I wasn't very happy with people. My social life got reduced, and I started avoiding people. When there is no threat, there's nobody to hack you. So I had a very limited social life. I kept only those people who are very close to me, and it all feels great. Like my emotional intelligence was skyrocketed. My abilities were unlocked, and I was able to grow my own business because I knew how people work and I understood them. I use it to my own advantages. Everything just feels right. But here's the catch. This blessing comes with a curse. Once you start seeing the manipulations, once you start seeing the cracks in people, it just becomes hard to accept the reality as it is. It makes me overthink. It makes me talk to myself. Every word in a conversation hits like a message or a judgment. It's like everybody is trying to attack me because I'm always anticipating exploitation. Like I'm always scanning, I'm always enumerating for bugs everywhere. And like there was nothing wrong. Sometimes it's just playful, sometimes it's just harmless. Still, I was believing that it was dangerous for me. So sometimes my family and friends, they were just genuine for me. They cared for me. But I was too harsh on them. I know everybody has their insecurities, but I was too caught up as a hacker that I went in too deep and I couldn't ignore it. The more of a hacker I became, the more truth I started to gain and the more trust I started to lose. And as a result, it made me sabotage genuine relationships. And not because they did me bad, but because I was expecting them to. I was trained to distrust or disbelief or doubt. And so I pushed them away. It affected my social life. Yeah, you must know that. You must have heard this, that hackers have a distorted social life. And now you know why. There is a very, very common pattern. And it did for me. I pushed people away, even those I wanted close. I blew up big time. I had my own firewall rules. I created firewall rules inside me that blocked bad traffic but also blocked good traffic. My logical server was overwhelmed. I was focusing on my logical server that my emotional one got shut down and I ultimately became a robot. And it was difficult to just get over it. It was difficult to accept things, and everything just started to fall apart. What could I have done to fix this? What could I have done to know that people are not always bad? And my mind was trained to do that. And then I suppose at the end, it works ultimately. But even today, it works the same way. And I'm growing and growing in this field. And I still couldn't resolve all that. The ultimate behavior I developed that I started to find flaws inside myself. I was just as vulnerable. I had my own unpatched software, my own traumas, my own wounds that I couldn't resolve or I couldn't move on from. I I also had weak passwords in my mind. I also denied my own surveys. I was overwhelming myself. I had my own insecurities, and then I realized that maybe that they are not the problem. I am the problem. Then I developed a negativity bias because I focused only on the problems than the solutions. My mind was diverted. Maybe I didn't actually focus on the actual problem because I think I was the problem. And then, yeah, you can think it's difficult to just know it that way. And eventually, I developed an eye inside me that looked inside me. When I'd spent deep enough time in the mirror, I think and I ask myself, am I the same person I was before I started this? Or have I become an insecure program that is running on someone else's code? Or someone has manipulated me or hacked me? So, that day on the educational website, I was not just finding a bug. I realized the hacker's curse. The blessing of able to see something that others can't, but the burden of not being able to look away. Ignorance is bliss, blindness is comfort, but as a hacker, it's not an option for me. We have to be always seeing through the illusion, always skeptical, always debugging. I meet myself in the mirror. That's where I ask, am I intact? Are my values intact? Or am I quietly exploited? Maybe I have been hacked already. Maybe I'm not the same person I was. But I don't have answers to all the questions, and I cannot fix everything. Maybe that's fine. I can own up to them and exactly know where I'm headed up with these problems. But I'm proud of my passion and profession because it made me know who I am. And throughout these years, I've learned a very important thing that once I look inside myself, I'll know how to do stuff in my work because that's what applies there. So I always believe that hacking is not about systems, it's about people. Because humans are the weakest link in the chain. And if you self-analyze your own fears, belief system, and values, you'll know exactly how you can be exploited and what vulnerabilities you have. So keep looking inside yourself, keep introspecting, then you will become a better hacker. Because the deepest hack you will ever perform will be on yourself. Thank you so much.